Welcome to this explainer on a phenomenon you might know all too well, the middle class trap and the science of finding your passion. Let's just jump right in. Picture Amit. He's a 26-year-old IT worker. It's 9 p.m. on a Monday, and he's still glued to his desk because his manager dropped another super urgent task on him right at 6 p.m. So he's staring blankly at an Excel sheet, but he's actually watching a travel vlog on his phone, just thinking to himself, is this it? Is this really how the rest of my life is going to be? Now, on paper, Amit is totally set. He's pulling in a great salary, his parents are incredibly proud, and he's checking literally all the societal boxes. But inside, there's just this numbness. You know that heavy, exhausting emptiness that comes from being stuck in an endless 9-to-5 loop? And this numbness is exactly what the poet Pash warned us about. He wrote that the absolute most dangerous thing in life isn't some massive external threat. It's being filled with dead silence. It's the act of merely surviving everything, just to leave home for work and return from work to home day in and day out. The most dangerous thing, he said, is the death of our dreams. So if you've ever felt that soul-crushing silence on your morning commute or while staring blankly at your monitor, I want you to know that you are deeply understood and you are definitely not alone in this. In fact, the data completely backs you up. Look at this massive 2024 Gallup survey. It spanned over 160 countries, and it found that only 23% of workers are truly engaged in their jobs. That leaves a staggering 77% of the global workforce actively disengaged or doing what we now call quiet quitting. We are talking about billions of people waking up every single day to do something they feel entirely numb towards. Let's narrow that focus down a bit to South Asia and India. That engagement number drops even further, to a mere 21%. Just think about that for a second. 8 out of 10 people sitting around you are dragging themselves to a workplace they have zero passion for. But look, this isn't just about feeling a little sad on a Monday morning. This lack of passion is incredibly expensive. The data actually shows that engaged workers are 18% more productive, which makes their companies 23% more profitable. So not following your passion is quite literally costing you your personal happiness, while simultaneously draining the economy. So you're probably wondering, why don't people just quit? Well, it's because of what we call the golden cage. It goes like this. You get an education, which brings an education loan. You get a job to pay off that loan. Then you buy a bike to commute to the job you hate, which brings a bike EMI. Then the car EMI. Then a massive 20-year home loan. Combine that relentless cycle of debt with a toxic hustle culture that completely glorifies 70-hour work weeks, and then inject it with a healthy dose of FOMO, the fear of missing out on the lavish lifestyles everyone else is posting on social media. Suddenly, quitting a terrible job feels literally impossible. The cage is locked tight. But here's where it gets really interesting. A massive 2018 Stanford University study completely shattered how we think about escaping this cage. See, most of us operate with what's called a fixed mindset. We think passion is this hidden treasure buried deep inside us, and if we just search our souls hard enough, we'll find it. Well, the study proved this is a total myth. The scientific reality actually requires a growth mindset. Passion isn't a treasure you just magically stumble upon. It is a plant. You have to intentionally grow and cultivate it over time. Because of this exact reality, author Cal Newport argues that the famous phrase, "follow your passion," is honestly terrible advice. Why? Because it makes you incredibly passive. You just sit around waiting for lightning to strike or some massive epiphany to happen. Newport argues that instead of just waiting around, you need to actively build skills. Getting genuinely good at something gives you autonomy and control over your work. And guess what? Real passion naturally grows from that feeling of mastery. Okay, I hear you. You might be asking, well, what skill do I even start with? I don't even know what I like. Hey, don't blame yourself for that. You don't have an interest problem. You have an exposure problem. Think about our traditional education systems. We are exposed to maybe 10 or 15 standard careers, right? Doctor, engineer, lawyer, accountant. But did you know there are over 12,000 recognized career categories in the world? If you've never been exposed to 99% of the options out there, how on earth could you possibly know you are meant to be, say, an underwater archaeologist? This brings us to a really fascinating concept from David Epstein's research, which he talks about in his book Range. He studied world-class performers, folks like tennis legend Roger Federer and cricketer MS Dhoni. And what did they have in common? They absolutely did not specialize early. They played everything: basketball, football, badminton. They went through what Epstein calls a sampling period. Now, late specializers might look like they're falling behind early on, but because they eventually find the perfect fit through all that experimentation, they absolutely win in the long run. And when you do finally find that right fit through sampling, something pretty magical happens in your brain. It's called the flow state, a psychological concept introduced back in 1990. Take the story of Neha from our source material. She was a 34-year-old homemaker who just started baking cakes for her neighbors. She became so deeply immersed in the process that she lost all track of time, she didn't feel hungry, and completely forgot to check her phone. The task was perfectly challenging for her. Being in a flow state can actually make you up to 500% more productive because your mind and body are fully focused, yet you feel completely, totally relaxed. So the golden question is, how do you find your flow state without risking everything and quitting your day job? Enter author Josh Kaufman's 20-hour rule. It takes exactly 20 hours of deliberate practice to get reasonably good at a brand new skill. Do the math on that for a second. That is just 45 minutes a day for a single month. In just 1 month, you can confidently know if a new pursuit gives you that feeling of flow, or if you should just pack it up and move on to sampling the next thing. And all this 20-hour experimentation, it builds the foundation for the ultimate predictor of success: grit. According to researcher Angela Duckworth, it is not your IQ or your natural-born talent that dictates your success. It's grit. Grit is defined as passion plus perseverance. It's the ability to focus on targeted, deliberate improvement over a long period of time, even when the work gets really boring or difficult. And just like passion, grit isn't something you are just born with. You cultivate it by consistently sticking with a skill that genuinely interests you. Okay, so we've covered the science and the psychology behind all of this. Now let's get deeply practical. How do you actually escape the golden cage? Well, our source outlines a highly actionable, science-backed framework to get you there. It's called the 3E formula, and it has 3 simple chronological steps. Number 1, explore. Number 2, engage. And number 3, excel. Let's break down exactly how you can start implementing this in your daily routine, like starting today. Step 1 is to explore. Remember earlier? Stop looking inward for a hidden passion, look outward, expand your world. For the next 30 days, I want you to dedicate just 30 minutes a day to exploring a completely new career category. From shoe painting to marine biology, step entirely out of the 15 standard careers you've been taught to revere. The source material actually suggests using a 100-career sampling guide. Just sit down, set a timer, and passively learn about totally different paths. Once you've done your exploring, you move right into step 2, engage. Narrow your giant list down to just 5 to 7 things that sparked a genuine excitement for you. Now you have to get your hands dirty. Apply that 20-hour rule we talked about. Do real-world projects on the weekends. If you liked baking, invite your neighbors over for a free cake tasting. If you picked photography, go shoot 100 photos for free at a friend's event. You are actively testing the waters here to see if the reality of this activity actually triggers your flow state. Now, when you finally find that one project that gives you the flow state, you move to step 3, excel. And listen closely, because this is where most people fail. After the initial excitement wears off, there is always a grind. You have to survive this 6-month period of difficulty, because this is exactly where true grit is formed. You master the skill, you push through the days you really don't feel like doing it, and eventually this mastery allows you to start generating a real side income. Now, this usually brings up a completely natural fear. Wait, won't a side project exhaust me and distract me from my actual day job? Actually, science says the exact opposite. A pretty compelling study from San Francisco University found that having a side passion project actively improves your primary job performance. It boosts your creativity, it sharpens your problem-solving skills, and it significantly reduces workplace burnout. You don't have to choose between keeping your steady job and finding your passion. They actually fuel each other. Ultimately, what you are trying to construct through this whole process is your Ikigai. It's a famous Japanese concept from Okinawa. It's the intersection of what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. When these 4 things intersect, you have a purpose that makes you genuinely want to jump out of bed in the morning. But the absolute biggest takeaway from our source today is this: Ikigai is not a puzzle you sit down and solve in a day. It is a structure you actively build, step by step, over years of effort. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. I'm too old for this. It's way too late for me. Well, let me stop you right there. Did you know the global average age for a career change is actually 39 years old? It's true. So whether you are 25, 34 like Neha, or 45, it is infinitely better to start planting the seeds of your passion today than to spend the next 20 or 30 years completely numb in that golden cage. The data emphatically proves it is never, ever too late to pivot. So there we have it. We've broken down the middle class trap, dismantled the myths about finding passion, and given you the actionable 3E formula to escape. Now the ball is entirely in your court. I want to leave you with a direct, provocative question, and I really want you to answer it honestly for yourself right now. What will you spend 45 minutes exploring today? Seriously, don't wait for the perfect moment or for inspiration to magically strike. Set a timer, start your sampling period, and take the very first step toward growing your passion today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.